wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up.
Hey, so today on the channel we are wrapping the roof of this GTI gloss black. If you've ever wanted a gloss black roof, this is the video for you. All right, so today we are going to take the bare roof on a 2024 GTI and we are going to wrap it in gloss black vinyl. So I will put a link in the description of the video of the actual material I'm going to use. I will talk more about it later on in the video. I will say this, you can wrap the roof on this car without removing this antenna. However, if this is your first time wrapping a roof just in general, you want to remove this antenna. So let me walk you through that process first and explain why it's beneficial to remove. So your first step is to jump in the back seat. Fold the back seat down. And then if you have this privacy thing in the back, you're going to want to open the hatch and remove it. But you're going to want to pull these side panels on both sides on the interior trim. And you do that by opening your rear hatch, unhooking these little guys. If you didn't know this, there's a little Easter egg back here in the GTI. It's a little impeller, like inside the turbo of the car. It's just one of those Easter eggs Volkswagen put in there. But to remove this, you're gonna take your hand, you're gonna just pop up, just one brisk motion, set this to the side. To remove these side panels, you're gonna lift up on the back seal. You're gonna grab an edge of the plastic and you're going to pull. And just so you know what it looks like underneath, there's a little clip there. There's a metal clip that goes in there. You're going to do the same thing, pull on the top, and there's one more metal clip down bottom right there. You're going to want to get that undone. So now when you pull these out, it's going to pull on the inner quarter panel, and that's fine. They're just clipped in the bottom like this, and so you can easily pull that panel off. So do the same thing to the other side. Once you've removed those two inner panels, you can take either an interior tool or your hands, pull up the seal and push down. So I will show you on inside the headliner, there's these clips like this. And you want to be very careful that you don't crease the headliner. As you do this, there will be bend points where you can crease it. So my recommendation would be to remove these rear grab handles as well. I do know some people can do this without doing it. It's just very, very difficult to avoid creasing it. So next step is to remove this Torx bolt right there. And the size of that bolt is a T27. So it is fairly tight, just a heads up. And I recommend using a socket to do this. Once you've broken it free, you should be able to use your hand to loosen that bolt by hand. So after you've loosened the bolt, the bottom of the antenna comes out. It's called the cage. Make sure you don't lose it. So just set that somewhere safe to the side. Now for the next part, the antenna is disconnected. If you have GPS installed on your car, you'll have 3 wires that come to this. You'll have a green one over here. But in this case, this car doesn't have the GPS, so it has a blue antenna and a brown antenna. Now you can separate this by lifting up on the white tabs, and what that will do is allow it to unclip. You can pull them down and then pull the antenna upwards. Now if you want to make this easier, you can push in on the black clips on the side of the antenna, push it through the roof, and then have full access to the clips. Now this clip needs to be pulled outward. If it has a little white clip on it, you can slide it down out of the way. And then usually take a small screwdriver, place it inside. Then you want to push the wires down in, pull your antenna off. Again, put it somewhere safe. Any of the clips that you pulled off, like this one, go ahead and put it with that bolt and cage that held the antenna square on the roof. Okay, so your next step is to use a mild degreaser. We're using Mr. Clean here. I always spray it on the towel directly. Then you want to start with a clean car, but then degrease the entire roof. We're doing this so that the adhesive sticks really well to the roof. You want to make sure there's no debris, bugs, bird poop, anything like that on the roof. You'll make sure it's nice and clean. So not just the roof, you want to pay attention to the edges, especially down in this crease right here, because usually your vinyl butts into this crease here. You use knifeless tape or a razor blade, but I always go overkill and I make sure the area just beyond is very clean, because as you're laying the vinyl, it's gonna lay over the side and you don't wanna pick up a bunch of debris and scatter it throughout the roof that you just cleaned off. After you remove that antenna, there's gonna be dirt and debris up here, so you wanna make sure you get that area clean as well. So after you've cleaned the roof, I have some 3M knifeless tape here. What this allows is it allows perfect cuts on the surface of your vinyl without using a razor blade and potentially damaging the paint underneath. And I like to leave 3 or 4 inches past where I intend for the vinyl to go, just because I always have excess vinyl in the way. And if you can't get to the end of this to pull, then you're kind of SOL. Kind of screwed yourself. So, and just keep in mind, as straight as you make this line is as straight as your vinyl cut is going to be, so it's really important. In the course of the Mark 7 and Mark 8 GTIs and even the Mark 8.5, you'll have this nice little crease here. And so as long as you can keep your knifeless tape down inside there and you're pulling from a foot and a half away, you should have a pretty straight line to cut on. Now, other people use razor blades here. Honestly, that's my preference, but I'm always really worried about pushing too hard or too deep and damaging the painted surface underneath. I like to go over the rear spoiler, whether you have this or the Club Sport spoiler. I like to go over it again, just like the front, 3 or 4 inches. So then what I do is I cut it like this. And what I prefer to do is to fold over the end here so I can find it. Now, the key with knifeless tape is a lot of people just lay it down and it won't pull the way they want it to, because there's a little piece of thread there. So what I like to do is I like to go back over it, put even pressure with a warm hand to make sure that the adhesive on both sides of the string that's inside that tape is nice and stuck to the surface. Now we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Okay, so right here I have Avery Dennison SW9000 wrap. If I'm incorrect, just check the description of the video. The Avery Dennison wrap is very soft, it's very forgiving. If you do create a blemish in it, you can usually pull it out with a heat gun. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna unwrap this, and then I'm going to lay it across the roof. Now, I have some of these magnets. I really like these for initially setting down vinyl. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stick the front of the roll onto the roof, like this. And this just allows you the freedom to line up the vinyl and make sure you have complete coverage on the roof. So I'm gonna roll it out. This is still with the backing on the vinyl. And I'm gonna roll it all the way back to where I want it. So I want it about right there. And cut the vinyl. The reason I go ahead and cut it right up front is maybe later I want to wrap this spoiler or a mirror or something like that, different part of the car. I want to keep this nice and fresh, untouched, and so I'm just going to set it completely to the side. All right, so to actually smooth the vinyl out, I like to use a felt tipped squeegee, or felt tip scraper, whatever you want to call it. Again, I'll link one of these down in the description of the video. They're pretty cheap, but go ahead and have this handy for this next part. So I also have a microfiber cloth. Set those to the side. So now that you have your vinyl laid out, what you want to do is you want to pull off the backing. Now what I do is I start in the front, I pull the corner off, and I fold it underneath itself. You understand why I'm doing this in just a second. What I do is I stick down a corner. I'll go ahead and throw the magnet back on it just to be safe. I walk around the other side and I do the same thing. I pull the corner. Now it's imperative that you do not let the vinyl touch itself. So you always want to have pressure away from the side that you've already stuck down as you pull the backing. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull it tight. I'm gonna lay it over the A-pillar. I'm gonna go ahead and put my magnet down. I'm gonna walk back to this side because now what's happened is that backing is in a triangle shape, and if you continue to pull, you'll stretch the vinyl or it'll pull it in towards itself and it'll stick to itself. So this is a dry application, so we're gonna be very, very careful not to do that. And then once you pull on the opposite side where you started, the backing will be straight across. It'll no longer be in a triangle shape underneath. So what you can do, you can grab it as far into the center as you want, or as you can, and you can pull the vinyl smooth all the way across the roof. All right, now the vinyl has adhesive on the back, so now all of this is stuck down. All these wrinkles are there, right? It's important not to put pressure on the wrinkles. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna move your magnet, you're gonna lift up, and you're going to pull tight. And so what you're doing is you're pulling the vinyl tight across the highest points on the roof. What I like to do, because we know that the center of the roof is going to be the highest point, is I like to stick a little bit of it down, basically so as I pull on the roof, it pulls all those wrinkles out. It has a point that shouldn't pull off unless I'm pulling out and up. So from here on out, I'm going to pull away from that spot. So my next step is to go to the back of the car and to pull away from that spot. All right, now for the most part, the vinyl is pretty tight in the center. So because we stuck the center up front, now you need to pull the opposite direction that these fingers or these wrinkles go. And so what you're gonna do, you're gonna lift the vinyl, you're gonna pull away, and you're essentially just gonna keep doing that. Just gonna keep pulling, stick down the edge so it can't pull it off. Continue to pull, new wrinkles will appear. So what you have to do is you have to kind of work them out. So I have a wrinkle that appeared here. So that one, because it's facing that way, we're gonna wanna pull out that direction. So I'm gonna untuck the side, go like that, same thing. And then move my magnet, and I'm just gonna completely move it because now it's just getting in the way. It's not allowing the vinyl to stretch how I want it to, and bada bing, we have that. So now there's a little wrinkle there. We're gonna pull that out from that side. But what I'm gonna do in the meantime is I'm gonna go ahead and push the vinyl down in the front. So what I like to do is I like to draw a big cross in the center of the car so I have areas to push away from. So in this case, I'm doing this, then I'm going to push forward. Now those wrinkles are there. I need to go ahead and pull them out if I'm gonna do the cross method there. So I'll show you how to do that in just a second. But essentially what we're gonna do is we're gonna keep just doing the cross thing. There was a little bit of a bubble there, so what I did is I took my finger and I surrounded it, did circles around it. the heat from your hand in combination with the pressure will push air that's trapped underneath through tiny little relief holes that you can't exactly see in the vinyl. Okay, now I've gone to the other side. I'm pulling it tight. This was the edge of my cross from the other side. So I'm gonna go ahead and start this side as well. Pull it tight. And push it out. That's not what I wanted, but I'm going to keep working it out like that. Now, the beautiful thing about Avery Dennison vinyl is you can stretch it. So if there are wrinkles in it, just keep pulling on it. Now, I will say there are exceptions. If the vinyl has a pattern on it or it's printed, you'll stretch that pattern. It won't look very good. You can hide it sometimes, but when all else fails, use a little heat from a heat gun. But as you noticed, I started in the center at my cross. Now I'm pushing the wrinkles out towards the corner. By doing this, you push all of the pressure towards the corners, where you can actively pull from two different directions. Pull the stress out, stretch the vinyl. Where I remove the antenna here, I'm gonna work around it, because eventually what I'll do is I'll cut it. I'll cut that area out. I try and leave as much material flat in this area so moisture and debris can't get underneath it. When I say debris, I mean like dirt from the road, from outside, things like that. So I do my best to pull away from it. I'm gonna make sure we're flush up against our antenna hole here, and then I'll show you what's next. You're gonna take a razor blade or a knife, and you're gonna find the hole that's there, and you are going to go ahead and cut that out. I leave a slight amount of overhang. You want to be careful that you're not using a big knife to do this, because your headliner is down there, and so is all the wiring from your shark fin antenna. So you don't want to chop that up. You also don't want to just cut part of it and pull on it like I just started to do, because what you can do is actually rip the vinyl. And you have the edge of the roof here. If you push down the vinyl, you can see where the edge of the roof is. Basically, you want to push down here so you can see where the roof ends and the rear hatch joint begins. So what I do is I take a flat knife and I poke it down up against the rear hatch. You don't want to do it up against the back of the roof, because you actually want enough vinyl to tuck down over the back of the roof. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and trim this out all the way so I can get rid of some of this excess material, get it out of our way so we can pay attention to where we want to fold this over. Okay, excess material is out of the way. Now, what I like to do is I stick this somewhere flat in case, you want to wrap your mirrors or something. Save the material as much as possible until you're finished with the job and you know exactly what you want. So once you have the back trimmed up, go ahead and work some of those bigger air bubbles out towards that area if you can. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and get the sides squared away. I'm gonna push the vinyl all the way down into that groove. So once you have the vinyl pushed all the way into that crease on both sides, go back over it a couple of times because you really want it to stick down in there so your knifeless tape cuts a nice hard edge in it. We've already cut the back. Now we need to cut the front. Now we have to do this before we pull the knifeless tape. So what I like to do is I like to push the vinyl down on the windshield and give just so I know how much excess I have. Then I'll take the squeegee, push up against the front of the roof, just so I know where the end is. Now, I prefer to give myself 1/4 of an inch. I'm doing light pressure. You can also do this with knifeless tape. Cutting the vinyl all the way across. The reason I'm giving myself so much excess is, and I can always trim this down, is so that I can fold it behind that windshield seal. The reason I do that is because this is the front of the car. It sees windshield washer fluid, it sees road debris, it sees all kinds of stuff that'll make vinyl peel away from the front. And so you want to make sure it's like really stuck down. So I'm going to grab a piece of the knifeless tape and I'm going to pull out. So you're going to pull the tape off like floss through, or the string like floss through the tape. So I'm going to hold down the edge here. And now it's pulling out like so, and it's cutting the vinyl. And because I put excess here, it's good to go. You can see it there. I pull this kind of slow because sometimes the cut's not very good. And so again, I'm going to save this piece. Maybe I want to do a mirror or something. We will see. All right, so what I do is I take my little razor blade, peel my tape, and see if I can get the inner edge too. I want to be really careful so I don't damage the vinyl because I need it for this corner. Cool. So I have my tape now, both sides of it. I'm going to try and maybe stick it together as one piece. Pull it off. Okay, so now one more time, I'm going to push the vinyl down into that crease. Oh, it's pulling my green tape too. I never get that. The excess that was hanging out here is going to be a little hard to push down because this window seal is brand new. It's nice and tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and run my knife up against the edge of the windshield. And I'm going to pull that excess off. It's just going to make it way easier to tuck in the front. What I'm doing is I'm going to start in the center. I'm going to push down with my scraper. Now my first pass, I'm only going to just kind of push it down in. The reason why I'm pushing it down lightly and not like really tight is in case I get wrinkles somewhere in this. I'm going to want to be able to pull it up a little bit and correct those wrinkles. Take that stress out. Now, I like to start in the middle on the back. So now what I'm doing is I'm folding it, working my way from the center out. All the way to the edge. And once I have it, I'm going to fold the bottom edge. It goes, the back of the roof goes like this, down, and then goes in a little bit. So once you have it folded over that edge, you're going to want to go back and push the bottom in a little bit to make sure it's not lifted up. Reapply your antenna the same way we took it off, and then you've now wrapped your roof gloss black. Thanks for watching the video today. What do you guys want to see next? You guys want to learn how to window tint? You guys want to learn how to polish the paint, remove scratches? Let me know down in the comments. Did I do something wrong in this video? I'm sure you guys will let me know down there too.